The Volume 1 finale was chaos in the best way possible. We have Will Byers going full Reverse Vecna mode. We have the return of the prodigal sister. We have Steve Harrington driving a BMW into a literal dimension of hell. And we have a villain who is apparently collecting children like they are Pokémon cards. It is a lot. So let's just dive into the absolute madness that is going to be Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. Let's start with the immediate result of that cliffhanger, because you can't just have Will wipe a nosebleed after telekinetically snapping Demogorgon necks and not address the elephant in the room. We have confirmed titles for the 3 episodes in Volume 2. Episode 5, which is officially titled Shock Jock, has to pick up the exact second we cut to black. Now, hear me out. Shock jock usually refers to a radio broadcaster who uses humor or exaggeration to offend people and get attention, right? Who is the DJ of Hawkins? It's Robin Buckley. This title screams that the radio station, WSQK, is the battlefield. I predict the first 20 minutes of Shock Jock will be a chaotic scramble where the military, specifically Dr. K's forces, try to seize control of the narrative. Sullivan is going to try to paint the kids as the terrorists, the ones causing the rifts. This is where Robin steps up. She is going to become the literal shock jock of the apocalypse. Think about it. The town is falling apart, people are terrified, and the military is lying to them. Robin, Steve, and maybe even a recovering Dustin are going to hijack the airwaves. They are going to broadcast the truth about Vecna, about the lab, about everything. But there's a double meaning here. That shock implies electricity, energy, with Will's new powers acting like a conduit and Eleven's history with manipulating lights and energy. Shock jock might also refer to Will shocking the hive mind system. He is the DJ of the Upside Down now, spinning the tracks that the monsters have to dance to. The dynamic in the group is going to shift instantly because of this. Up until now, Eleven has been the superhero, the heavy hitter, the mage of the party, but now Will has powers that mirror the villains. This is huge because it changes how Mike looks at Will. Remember that look Mike gave him in the finale? It wasn't just shock, it was fear. Mike has spent years protecting Will, treating him like he's made of glass, and suddenly Will is the one holding the hammer. And if Robin is the shock jock on the radio, Will is the shock jock of the mind. Meanwhile, we have to talk about the reunion we finally got, or at least the reveal we got with Callie, aka 8. The Volume 1 finale showed us that the powerful person Dr. K was hiding wasn't Vecna, but Eleven's sister. This is the game changer for the lore. A lot of people hated the Lost Sister episode in Season 2, but I always said it would come back around, and here we are. Callie is the key to unlocking the mental aspect of this war. Eleven battles with telekinesis, with brute force, but Vecna battles with the mind, with illusions and trauma. Callie is the master of illusions. I predict that Episode 5 will feature a massive exposition dump between Elle, Hopper, and Callie. Callie will likely be bitter, having been captured and experimented on again, and she won't trust Hopper. We're going to get a tense standoff where Elle has to mediate between her police dad and her anarchist sister. Kaylee will reveal that she wasn't just sitting in a cell. She was being used to amplify the signal, acting as a literal broadcast tower, which ties perfectly back into the shock jock title. She was the antenna for Dr. K, and now she's going to turn that signal against them. She will teach Elle that she can't just punch her way out of this apocalypse. She has to fight Henry in his own mindscape, which sets up the final battle. Now let's check in on the Upside Down crew, because Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and Dustin are currently stranded in a car that's embedded in a wall of fleshy doom. They are in the belly of the beast. I predict their storyline in the next episode will be a survival horror movie. They are deep in the red zone, effectively behind enemy lines. This circle Dustin figured out. The wall surrounding the center of the Upside Down is protecting something specific. I think they are going to ditch the car and have to trek on foot toward the library or the town hall, basically the center Dustin was talking about. This is where we are going to see the true nature of the Upside Down's ecosystem. We might see things we haven't seen before, like the flora and fauna that Vecna has cultivated. I'm predicting a moment where Steve almost sacrifices himself again because, let's be real, Steve Harrington's entire character arc is mom trying to save the kids. But this time, Jonathan is going to step up. We saw the tension with the engagement ring in Volume 1, and I think Volume 2 is where Jonathan finally proves he's not just the guy in the background. He's going to take charge, using his hunting skills from Season 1 to navigate them through the woods. They will stumble upon something massive, maybe the spire Will saw in his vision, the place where the kids are being kept. Back in the right side up, Hawkins is chaos. The rifts have opened, monsters are pouring out, and the military is overwhelmed. The town is effectively a war zone. This isn't a secret anymore. The entire world knows. I predict we'll see news reports, maybe even the president getting involved, showing that the containment has failed. This raises the stakes because it means they can't just fix it and go back to normal. Hawkins is gone. The prediction here is that the town will be evacuated or destroyed by the end of the series. But specifically for episode 5 and 6, we are going to see a resistance movement led by Mrs. Wheeler. Karen Wheeler had her badass moment with the wine bottle, and now that she knows the truth, she isn't going to sit on the sidelines. She's going to rally the parents. We've been waiting 5 seasons for the parents to actually be useful, and this is the moment. Ted Wheeler will probably still be useless, likely complaining about the property value while a demodog eats his recliner, but Karen is going to be the General Leia of Hawkins. Let's talk about Max. She's alive-ish. She's in a prison world in Henry's mind. The Volume 1 finale established she has a plan to use Holly to escape, and this brings us to the confirmed title for Episode 6, Escape from Camazotz. This is massive. The title alone confirms almost every theory we had about the Mindscape. Camazotz is from Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time, which Max explicitly referenced. In that book, Camazotz is a dark planet where a malevolent brain called It forces everyone to be exactly the same. It's a world of absolute conformity and control. That is exactly what Vecna's hive mind is, a place where individuality is crushed and absorbed into the one. Episode 6 is going to be the heist episode, but the heist is taking place inside a brain that is structured like this nightmare planet. Max and Holly are going to have to navigate the labyrinth of Henry's memories. We saw glimpses of this in Season 4, but now we are going to see the whole twisted architecture of his psyche. Furthermore, the name Camazotz has Mayan origins, meaning death bat. Camazotz was a bat spirit serving the underworld. This suggests that the guardian of this mind prison isn't just Henry, it's something more primal. I predict that in Escape from Camazotz, Max and Holly will be hunted by a manifestation of the death bat. This could be the giant winged creature we've seen in D&D lore, or perhaps the demobats form into a singular, massive entity. This fits with the Duffer Brothers posting the book cover. They are telling us the structure of the episode. Max is Meg Murray, fighting to save her brother, or in this case, her friends, from the ultimate conformist evil. I predict we will see memories of Henry's time at the lab that we haven't seen before, maybe revealing that Dr. Brenner wasn't the only one pulling the strings. There's a theory that Henry wasn't the first one, or that the history of the lab goes back further, and Max might discover the source of the powers itself. This is where the lore deep dive happens. Max will likely encounter the souls of the other victims, Eddie, Chrissy, Bob. I don't think they are alive, but their consciousness might be trapped there, part of the hive mind of Camazotz. Imagine the emotional damage if Max runs into a phantom Eddie Munson who gives her the courage to keep fighting. The internet would break. Speaking of breaking the internet, you see that little button that looks like a thumbs up, or maybe a subscribe button? Yeah, you need to smash that, like hit it with the force of 11 screaming at a helicopter. If you don't, I'm pretty sure a demobat is going to fly out of your screen and steal your egos. So, the time travel theory. This has been the biggest speculation since Season 4 showed us that the Upside Down is stuck in 1983. Why is it frozen? I predict that in Volume 2, specifically around Episode 7, which is confirmed to be titled The Bridge, we are going to get the answer. The Bridge is the perfect title for the climax. Remember Mr. Clark's lesson? The Einstein-Rosen bridge? A wormhole. This episode isn't just about a physical bridge, it's about the connection between timelines and dimensions. The Upside Down is a snapshot of the moment Will was taken. This connects back to Will. He created the snapshot. When he was taken, his fear, his trauma, it froze that dimension. This means Will is the architect, not Henry. Henry just moved in and started redecorating with tentacles. This realization is going to be the key to defeating Vecna. The bridge likely refers to Will acting as the bridge between the frozen 1983 timeline and the present. He has to bridge the gap to update the Upside Down or destroy it. Henry thinks he's a god, but he's actually squatting in Will's creation. This ties perfectly into the Volume 1 reveal of Will's powers. Will is controlling the environment. The sorcerer title from the D&D game is literal. If Will is the sorcerer, he can change the rules of the magic. I predict a scene where Henry tries to manipulate the world to kill the group, and Will just says no and rewrites the reality around them. It's going to be the ultimate power struggle. We also need to address the vessel plotline. Vecna is collecting kids to be vessels. Why? Because his body is rotting. He's been burned, shot, and fallen out of a window. He needs a new host. The terrifying prediction here is that he doesn't want just any kid. He wants Will. He's always wanted Will. The other kids, the spires, are batteries to charge up the transfer. But the target is Will's body. This makes the stakes incredibly personal for Joyce and Jonathan. It's season 1 and 2 all over again. Joyce is going to have to fight for her son's soul. This leads to a terrifying possibility. Vecna might succeed momentarily. We might get an evil Will arc in the final episodes, forcing Mike and Elle to fight their best friend. Can you imagine Mike having to talk Will down while he's possessed by the ultimate evil? It brings everything full circle to the crazy together promise. Now, let's look at the Silo crew, Steve, Nancy, etc. They are heading to the center. I predict they find the red spire or the central hub of the hive mind. They will find the physical bodies of the kids Vecna has taken, hooked up to the vines like Matrix batteries. Their mission shifts from kill Vecna to unplug the kids. This is going to be a stealth mission. Dustin will likely use his tech genius to hack the hive, maybe using the frequency he discovered. But here is the tragic prediction. Not all the kids will survive. They might save Holly because killing a little kid like that is pretty dark even for this show, but some of the background kids, they are goners, and one of our main crew is going to get seriously hurt protecting them. I'm looking at you, Steve. The always the babysitter trope has to have a payoff. I don't think Steve dies though, I think that's too obvious. I think Steve gets infected or marked in a way that sacrifices his King Steve future, forcing him to live with a permanent scar of this battle, proving he's changed. Let's talk about the military aspect. Dr. K, she's a villain, but a pragmatic one. She wants to weaponize the Upside Down. With the world ending, she's going to get desperate. I predict she will try to nuke Hawkins. It's the standard 80s movie military response. If you can't contain it, nuke it. This puts a ticking clock on the final episodes leading up to The Bridge. Our heroes are fighting a countdown to total annihilation. This forces Elle and the group to not just win, but win fast. Hopper, knowing how military minds work, will anticipate this. We will see Hopper going full Rambo mode to infiltrate the silo or the command center to stop the launch or the bombing run. This will be Hopper's redemption arc. He spent so long feeling helpless, now he takes control. What about the romance? We can't ignore the shipping wars. The love triangle of Steve, Nancy, Jonathan. The Volume 1 finale showed Jonathan holding the ring, but also Steve and Nancy having moments. I predict the show is going to subvert the expectation. Nancy isn't going to choose either of them, or she chooses herself. She's a journalist, a fighter. She's bigger than a high school romance. However, if she does choose, the narrative is leaning toward Jonathan. They share the trauma, the history. Steve has regressed a bit to his high school self in her eyes, while Jonathan has been there. But tragically, I think Jonathan might die. I know, it's horrible. But his death would be the catalyst that pushes everyone else over the edge. It would be the thing that breaks Joyce, but also the thing that makes Will go nuclear. If not Jonathan, then Murray. Murray is the comedic relief, the conspiracy theorist who was right. Characters like that usually go out in a blaze of glory. I predict Murray sacrifices himself to get the kids out of the Upside Down, perhaps driving the Santa's sleigh truck into a horde of demodogs to clear a path. Let's talk about the final battle, Volume 3, Episode 8. It drops separately on New Year's Eve, is 2 hours long, and is titled The Right Side Up. This is it. The title implies restoration, fixing what was broken. It has to be split between 3 battlefields: the Mind, Escape from Camazotz, the Upside Down, and Hawkins. The Mind battle will be psychedelic. The weapon against Vecna is love, memories, and humanity. The title, The Right Side Up, suggests they might flip the dimensions back or merge them into one healed reality. The turning point will be Will. He will realize that since he is the architect, he can banish Henry. He will absorb the Upside Down. But this comes at a cost. The Frodo ending. I predict Will has to leave. He can't stay in the normal world because he's too connected to the other side. And what about Max? Does she wake up? Yes. If Episode 6 is Escape from Camazotz, then by the finale, The Right Side Up, she is back in her body. But she won't be the same. She might be blind, or she might be paralyzed still. The show isn't going to magically heal her bones. The final scene of the series needs to be a flash forward, maybe to the 90s. We see them as adults dealing with the trauma but living their lives. Mike and Elle are together. Lucas is taking care of Max, Dustin is a science teacher, and they all gather once a year to play D&D. But the fact that Henry was grooming Holly is terrifying. It implies he plays the long game. What if Holly isn't just a victim? What if she's a spy? Even after she's rescued and escaped from Camazotz, Vecna might still have a hook in her. Volume 2 might have a horror subplot where Holly is acting weird, and Karen has to deal with the realization that her daughter came back wrong. This forces the group to make a hard choice. How do you save a child who is becoming a monster? Let's discuss the four gates and the split. The four gates met in the center of Hawkins. The library is ground zero. That giant X marks the spot. I predict that in the finale, the right side up, the two worlds will begin to merge physically. The sky in Hawkins will turn red. Gravity will shift. This gives the visual effects team a chance to go wild. It's the apocalypse. The military's plan to nuke it makes sense in this context because the infection is spreading. If they don't stop it, the Upside Down consumes the whole planet. One specific scene prediction is the running up that hill moment for Volume 2. We need a musical set piece. We know Will and Jonathan have a connection to the Clash. Should I stay or should I go? I predict a moment where Jonathan is in trouble or Will is losing himself and that song plays, maybe broadcast by the Shock Jock in Episode 5. It blasts over the speakers of the Squawk van through the Upside Down. Music has been established as the lifeline. Also, we need to talk about Erica, the girl Derek Turnbow interacts with. She represents the innocence of the victims. She is going to play a part. She might be the one who organizes the kids inside the spire. When Derek gets caught, he becomes the leader on the inside. His character arc from dipshit Derek to hero is happening. He will lead the kids in a rebellion within the prison camp, sabotage the harvesting machines. Also, Dr. Owens. Where is he? We saw Sullivan yelling at him in the recap. Owens is the good scientist. He's likely in custody. I predict he escapes or is broken out by Hopper. Owens knows the science. He knows about the atmosphere, the particles. He might figure out a biological weapon to kill the hive mind, a virus for the Upside Down. Maybe they use the heat weakness? If the Mind Flayer hates heat, maybe they figure out a way to superheat the dimension or set the atmosphere on fire. Let's circle back to Kali 8 again, because I feel like her role is being underestimated. She has a gang. Are they coming? Probably not. But her philosophy is burn it down. She's going to clash with Mike. Mike is the strategist. He wants to save everyone. Kaylee wants to kill the bad guys. Perhaps the bridge in Episode 7 is bridging the gap between Kali's rage and Mike's mercy. This leads to Elle's ultimate maturity. She rejects both extremes. She finds the middle path. She fights with compassion, but without mercy for evil. And what are the Demogorgons? We saw them being controlled by Will, but are they all controlled by Will? Or is there a civil war in the hive mind? If Will controls some and Vecna controls others, we could get a kaiju battle. Monster versus monster. A good Demogorgon fighting a Vecna Demogorgon. It sounds wild, but Stranger Things loves 80s tropes, and using the monster to fight the monster is a classic. Finally, the death count. I'm sticking to my guns here. Dr. Brenner, confirmed dead, but his memory will die when Elle lets go. Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan, eaten by a Demogorgon, poetic justice. Dr. K, killed by Kaylee or Elle. Murray Bauman, sacrifice play. Steve Harrington, heavy injury, maybe loses a leg or an eye, symbolizing the cost of war. One major character, it's a coin toss between Jonathan and Will. But killing Will feels too cruel. Killing Jonathan leaves Joyce broken. So I'm gonna go with a wild card, Mike Wheeler. Hear me out, Mike is the heart. His death would shatter Elle, but it would also solidify her independence. He promised he would never leave her. Dying protecting her is the ultimate fulfillment of that promise. So Volume 2 is going to be a bloodbath, a mind trip, and an emotional roller coaster. With Episode 5 Shock Jock, Episode 6 Escape from Camazotz, Episode 7 The Bridge, dropping Christmas Day, and the 2-hour finale The Right Side Up on New Year's Eve, we are in for the craziest week of television history. Over and out.